5 a night.
You do 5 gigs a night?
Yeah, over and above. 5 gigs over and above this show. The show's the low light of the whole night, to be honest. I think most of the fun of comedy is hanging out with the comedians.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The reality that kicks in, you're just standing behind this.
Yeah.
You know, waiting to go to the gallows, in a way. You know, by yourself with your head down. And then it's, do you know what I mean? Like, I think a solo show is much more lonely. I never knew it. It's a bleak existence because you come to a strange city and then you're around strangers all day, and then it's just a darkened room with, you know what I mean, anonymous faces laughing. But yeah, it's an empty place in a way. But I don't know how the pros have done it for so long. Me, I started in 2012. Yeah, mate, but I've had false starts as well. I love all comics have the timeline, yeah, but I had a few months off and then I had gout for a while, so I had a few weeks off there. Do you know they're always looking to minimise the time? The only people that ever do that have no profile. So like I'm in there, yeah, mate, but you know, I had glandular fever and then we got hand, foot and mouth, you know, so that explains some of the time.
So when did you get into it seriously?
Dude, no, actually I was 2012, then I did Raw, and then I got into, around the time I did Raw final, I got back and then I did, started to do stockbroking work. So when I did that, my boss told me that it was taking too much time and you can either have money or you can be a clown. Right. Which one do you want? And I was like, fucking money. So I dropped down to like doing, you know, like one a month. I got qualified as an accountant, a stockbroker.
Congratulations on last night.
Was it good, mate? What was your feedback on it?
It was very, very funny, very, very fast, and very, very high energy. It appeared that you were on something during last night's performance. Were you?
No, I wasn't, man. It's all, it's just a biological, chemical imbalance. The actual funny thing is I'm not even drinking at the moment. So it's, I'm completely sober. You know, I gave up drinking like 60 days ago. So I'm on stage. It's just my personality is a bit jarring. I was at the hi-fi bar, whatever, the Max Watt, and someone was like, mate, you got to be on something, your jaws, all that. I'm like, nah, just my personality, mate. Mate, the thing with you're talking about like what the message is, there really is no message, and I mentioned that in my show, that I'm a nihilist, that I'm not left or right wing, I'm fucking left breast, or you know what I mean? I don't actually have any views, because you'll see in my drug joke, if you look at it, initially I start off touting drugs are good and my parents' life hasn't worked out or whatever because of it, but then I flip and talk about how people romanticize it and overestimate the value of being involved in drugs. So in many ways I play both sides. I try to do this in comedy, like I see all of humanity a joke and just laugh as the world burns. Do you know what I mean? So I don't feel like what you're asking me is to what's my opinion? None. I have no opinion. I like to play all sides and just laugh at life, really. But you know what I mean? So I wouldn't really say I have any pro or negative views on drugs. Like, I don't have opinions on anything. I just basically transition through material and just, do you know what I mean? Like I said, I mean, my favourite comic, some of my favourites were always like that. They said they're nihilist and they just look as an outsider in and laugh at the world. I think there's some comics that are out there, they're pushing left wing, right wing. I'm like, it's all fucked. Do you know what I mean?
Are you kind of reacting against that kind of opinionated humour? Which we get a lot of comedians who go up on stage and they're very funny, but they're there with an agenda. Well,
this is the thing, and I find it very hard because to me it's crazy. Like I see the gala and say they're pushing Liberal, Labor, and I don't think they're that different. They're both a fuck up. So for me, I find it weird that when you get on that you can select, say you live in Perth, you like the Eagles or the Dockers, or you go on a flight and you want beef or chicken. What if you want fucking fairy floss? And I find it very weird to me that a human being, like say on politics, can be served up two options and it totally caters for their taste. And then they jump in and say, it's all Labor and Liberal sucks and it's all this and it's all this. But I'm like, there's surely, if you go through the myriad of topics, you must disagree with each party on some things, because there's always give and take. You saw it with Midnight Oil when, what's his name, Peter Garrett got in, totally compromised. Totally fucking compromised. But if you spoke to him on stage, he would have said protect all the forests, and I think he slashed and burned most of them in Tasmania
So
on the payout.
sorry.
But so what I'm saying to you is I don't understand how people can put on scarves and but I don't understand how you can don on a sporting jacket and then say, go the Blues, I love them, and then after they have a big piss up weekend and they're doing bubblers and you still support them. And often you find people will ardently support the team and go, well, the girl's probably out of line, and they make excuses. And I'm like, just fucking don't identify and attach to other concepts. Do you know what I mean? Just be your own individual and go like, take everything on its merits. The purpose is, look, it's just, that's fuck, man. To wrap it all up into one, it's to just throw mud on society. Do you know, just to throw a bit of doubt about the current cultural ideas, and to just make a bit of cynicism about everything that's taken as like, oh, well, we live this way, and this is what you are. And I just like to be, the cynic, the jaded, sort of vile antagonist.
Why are you so cynical?
Mate, I just don't feel like I always reflect back, I don't think we've made the best use of our consciousness. We've come along, no one understands where we've come from, and the entire idea now is to just put these existence into production for no apparent reason, with capitalism, and we just consume, and I think it's just a perversion of fear and greed. You want to feel safe and secure in your suburban, and you want greed, you want more and more money and more gold, but for what reason? Because I've gone up and down and I've realised existence is the same. A homeless guy to a prince to a pauper have the same experience. In many ways, a pauper has more drive because a cornered rat gets the best. When you are actually challenged, you get the best out of you. In many ways, an idle mind rots. So everything you aspire for might actually be the detriment of yourself. Do you know that privileged billionaire life is when you turn into a fat, spoilt goose? Do you know what I mean? What I'm effectively saying is I think it's just been a perversion. I think that life was better when we were just purely an animal following base instincts, running around. We might have died at 23, you just hunt, overnight you fought wolves off, you lost your brother, but you were fucking pleased that you made it through. Do you know? And then you go and get some food. Woke to me is like white privilege. I don't think any working class or any normal person gets the opportunity to mull in their ideology that much. I don't think people get the opportunity to say he transgresses and to judge other people. I think most of the population are just trying to exist, and they don't actually have the time to peer over the neighbour's fence and see whether the rose garden's in order. So for me, it's a despicable thing that comes from the upper class. And it's a revulsion of the tennis club mums that have too much time on their hands and have the gall to judge the working class. That's for me, personally. I don't know, man, it's just trying to be irreverent. Loud, irreverent, and quiet, like a screaming, screeching sound in your soul. I almost want it to be like a thorn under your side, a little bit jarring, a little bit antagonistic. You know what I mean? A bit like, the best way to describe it is like running your nails down a chalkboard. That's basically my act.
And I might regret asking this, but do you do anything to psych yourself up before a gig?
Man, I just visualise the futility of all and realise that we're all ghosts, anonymous and of little relevance, and that if you imagine beyond your 100 years onto 1,000, you realise that most of these people's views and opinion are irrelevant. And in the timeline, if you flash back, in 300-400 years when they look back, we'll be a laughing stock. We'll be cavemen and judged in that way. So I don't try to give too much credence to the current views because I think they will date. So, you know what I mean? I'm like, who really gives a fuck about these people's judgment? Because who are they?
So what is sobriety like, and how does it compare when you're not?
Dude, it's the worst. It's actually the pits. I've never been less happy. Before I was drunk and I looked unhappy on the outside. Now I'm unhappy on the inside and look good on the outside. I don't know, man. There's just not that much that goes on in life. There's only so many hours you can throw the tennis ball to the dog. I enjoy drinking. It passed time, and I like tapping out and forgetting about the absolute mess that what the world is.
So why have you gone sober? Is it on doctor's orders?
I know, I just got sick of waking up and saying sorry to people. Do you know what I mean? Texting. I think you run out of credit. And you know what the funny thing is when you grow up, you're a great drunk. When you're young, you're under the fun or you're fun. But eventually you either become lethargic or angry or rude or belligerent. But the worst of you starts to come out and you don't realise, and that's like with all drugs, they eventually take hold of you and bring out the worst in you. Early on, it's nothing but joy. You know, dancing and neon glow lights and glow sticks. But eventually it's throwing up down in an alley, and I think that happens even with alcohol, and no one even realises it, because my mates, when they're 18, the best fucking time of your life drunk. Now they're lethargic fucking lizards, lazing around, can barely talk, you know, because they're fat slobs, and, you know, it's 20 years on.
You seem to be saying here that despite how you feel about it, you are starting to put other people before yourself. It's a major sign of growth. Is that the case?
No, man, you know what I've done? It's maybe not that, and you're thinking this. The main reason I've stopped doing it is, if you're not happy with the meal, you change your recipe, right? And I'm just sick of the burnt scones. I've had too many opportunities spoiled for me, using as alcohol being the root cause of potentially what have cost me things in my life. And I just don't think it's really worth it. And I also think it's a weakness, right? Because it's not... You don't believe in yourself, and your anxiety requires you to have 2 drinks to be around other human beings, which is an insecurity that I don't want.
Do you believe in a comedy god?
Mate, I believe that all ideas are a shared consciousness, and I don't even think you write your own ideas. You just tap in, and that's why you can't claim ownership. I see all these comics sort of, you know, they pause and really sort of soak up. Look what I've done. Look how good it is. And I don't think the fact that it's funny means someone else, they share that idea, and it's just your ego that latches on to think, fuck, I fucking wrote it. It's so annoying when someone takes long getting change at the shops. I'm like, you didn't fucking write it. The reason it's funny is because everyone's experienced it. But then your ego, you memorize this script and you say it over and over, and you suddenly think you're not a mediocre human being. But I think we all are. And I find, so I say, is there a comedy god? Not really. There's a shared consciousness, and then you just deliver it, you dig into it, and you deliver back shit that people already knew, and then we enjoy it, because we're all shocked that we all knew the one truth. Dude, I'm sounding like a lot of a wanker. You're making me doing a lot of philosophical chats. What's the best thing is that you can find a connection with strangers. So I think the best way to do comedy is to reveal your greatest fears, and I'm still not at that stage, but when you realise that that's a shared thing, that the truths that you should never have said are actually experienced by people, by this strange guy and this girl, it makes you feel a lot less lonely. But then in a weird way, doing comedy is the loneliest pursuit of them all, because you're isolated and you totally detached from the social world, which is getting drunk and going out. You're off behind a fucking curtain, just revealing shit that you probably didn't even really write, right? You just observed something that everyone already knew. Man, I don't think it has anything to do with sex, really. I don't think so. Dude, I've lost everything chasing this stupid pokie machine, because it's an enchanting mistress, and you always think it's going to play the River Nile. And early on, you get a few little glimpses of hope, Raw or Comedy Zone. But effectively, I don't know. I think it's an Aladdin's cave. It's a poison chalice. Like, in many ways, you chase it, but you're just chasing your ego and money, and at the expense of things that matter more, probably, which is family and friends. Do you know what I mean? If you think about it, every arsehole. But then what happens is your comedians become your friends. But by design, these people have all been able to give up time with their family, time with their friends, to go out and titillate themselves and sort of stroke their egos. So I'm like, I think it's actually a vile, it's a vile thing to do. Poker machine. What I'm saying is the idea is that you can get a shortcut, right? That you can get to the gala level and make a large amount of money and have an easy life where you just write a few little scraps of shit on a notepad and then read it out to a hall of people that pay money for you to drink and write more scraps of shit. Do you know what I mean? That's your life, and you never have to grow up. You get to be a fucking Peter Pan forever. Mate, well, like Kinnison is probably my favourite. Early Kinnison, pre-Coke Kinnison. Carlin's good. Current ones, I mean, podcast types is Tim Dillon and the Andrew Shields, and then I would say like in Australia, like Nick Cody or Damien Powell, Shane Hunter, Dan Rath, Sam Campbell, Becky Lucas is unbelievable, Lauren Bonner. I mean, these people are great. There's a fucking shitload of them. Wacker's good. Amos Gill's unbelievable.
Were you the class clown?
Yeah, man, I was. I was like the Wonder Years guy. Like, I never grew. So I'd be like, fuck, let me check this time. Yeah, I grew late, man. So, like, I think, I always have to laugh. Mate, I don't even know if it ever had much of one. I think most of the people are little drones. I think there's only a small handful of people that are awake. The rest are just sheep. You know, they get institutionalised quite young in the school system. Through you go, you get a gold stamp, sit in a cubicle. Fuck, dude, it's very rare. 95% of these people I don't think would have made anyone laugh. They take themselves literally, and they really think that they are achieving something. I think it depends what scene you're in. If you're a good comic, it's an instinct, and then it's pursued and learned. But that doesn't mean you can't have a career in comedy, which is proved, and there's countless examples of that. People, and then I applaud them, because imagine being talentless and ending up with a job and keeping a job forever. I mean, you're a miracle worker. But truly, for me, there's no way in hell you can say Richard Pryor or Kinnison were learned comics. Do you know what I mean? It's just about who you look at. Yes, there's plenty. There's a waylay of people through politics that have managed to become comedians, but they definitely don't have fucking legacy work that anyone's going to look back at. Yeah, mate, I really liked it, but you pinned me into a more earnest version of myself than I'd normally give to people, so...
I'll leave that in. I'll leave what you just said in.
Can you do it? Because it's not normally... You wouldn't normally get me talking like this, because you ask good questions.